Welcome to Doing It My Way by Beata Matras, a podcast about project and product management, communication, brand, and IT. All these topics will definitely improve and have a positive impact on your career. So join me today, subscribe, and expect a new episode every week. Thank you. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Igor Mróz, experienced project manager, lecturer, and the founder of Zero BS Management. Igor is known for his practical and no-nonsense approach to management and leadership, stripping away the fluff that often clouds corporate communication. And today, we're diving into a crucial topic: why projects often get delayed or fail, and how to effectively manage them to success. Hello, Igor. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Beata.
Thank you for accepting my invite. And I'll kick off to the first question. So,
Right.
Igor, could you share with us your journey to founding Zero BS Management and
So basically, how I became consultant, right?
Consultant project manager, or the project management guru for effective project management, let's call it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I will probably, it's going to be probably disappointing for people who would like to, take notes and plan the journey, because it was all pure accident. I mean, honestly, I never ever, when I've been working as a project manager, I never ever ever thought about becoming project management trainer or consultant or doing anything like that. So the story was basically I got burned out. So I started to hate corporations. I joined one startup for like 3 or 4 months. Basically, I did not extend the trial period they wanted, but I did not want to, because I learned that startups can sometimes be worse than corporations. And afterwards, I was like so disillusioned, so burned out with this whole management, project management, whatever, that I did not want to have anything to do with managing projects. So I tried to live off renting my flat on Airbnb. I tried to start up some small bio or ecological catering company. I tried to be personal trainer. I tried many different things, but maybe I cannot say that all of this failed big time, but it did not bring as much money as I used to earn as project manager. And then, of course, I started to run out of money. And one of my friends basically advised me, like, "Hey, guy, you have all those certifications like PMPs, Professional Scrum Master, Prince 2, and well, you can do you have smooth talking skills. So maybe you can just join some training provider." It was like the first time I ever considered this idea, but I thought, okay, maybe I'll try for half a year, just for half a year. And then I joined one company. And I gradually, after, of course, overcoming the first stress, I very much remember the first time, my first training, it was in Poznań, Poland. So probably my first training was not the best, but I gradually learned to basically overcome shyness, maybe lack of confidence. And I also gradually learned to let go of what's written on the slides that my employer gave me. And instead, I started to share my own experience, my own advice, and the groups. The more I shared my own stuff, the more the groups liked the trainings. But and after, say, roughly a year, I will maybe skip the details. But there was I had one not very nice encounter with my employer. Basically, they said that they will not pay me for one gig, and it was kind of surprising. But they wanted to continue our cooperation. But I said, okay, no. After you screwed me, I don't want to have anything to do with you. And I started my own company just out of blue. I basically had no contacts. I was pretty much nobody. I mean, I had some people on LinkedIn, but I never posted anything. Like, I never positioned myself as some project management expert. So I had to start everything from scratch. I do not recommend this path. I always say it. I was in a very privileged position, I must say. I had no family, no obligations, and because previously I earned pretty good salary, I was able to pay off my whole mortgage. So my monthly costs, I could live for $500 for $500 a month. Sorry, not 500. Yeah, $500 a month. Yeah, I'm calculating well, and it was perfectly enough. Of course, the first clients were easy to get, but I always say that first 2 or 3 clients are easy to get because these are friends, people you like. But the next, the fourth, fifth, and sixth clients, these were the most difficult. So after like first 2 years, yeah, it started to catch up. Basically, it was not internet marketing. It was not Facebook ads. It was basically that I was doing good job, and people were basically spreading the word that, hi, there is this guy, and he's doing really good job. So that's the story.
Wow. Wow. But I had a lot of conversations with people who are also like working as freelancers right now, or founded their own companies or startups. And the story is very similar, to be honest. I
Yeah.
mean, there is always this story of I was burnout. I was like so tired with my current job that I had to do something. So I decided to make the craziest thing in the world that I could think about and start my own.
Hmm.
And they
And
they all say like never. I do not recommend that.
yeah,
But well,
yeah, I do not recommend that because it was like not a conscious decision. Probably I was not seeing any therapist at that time, but I probably should have. So it was not like, I would say, a sane person's decision to do so. So yeah, that's why I don't recommend it. And oh yeah, I had something on my mind, at the back of my head. The problem with, say, making conscious decision to leave the company, it was extremely difficult. We have this expression in Poland, in Polish, golden cage. I mean, my salary was so good. All the perks, all the benefits were great. I live in the center of Krakow, and the office was also, it was like I was biking like 7 minutes to the office, and there was like everything, like Xboxes, fruit, chill out rooms. I signed a contract to work 4 days a week. I was only working 4 days a week, and the salary was still amazing. So whenever I even considered leaving, I immediately thought, hey, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's so great here. Why would I leave if it's so great? But yeah,
yeah, golden cage is still a cage.
yeah.
But I will move to the next question, which is also like connected to corporate cultures, because they often rely on buzzwords, as I mentioned in the
Right.
in the intro, and complex theories. And in your opinion and in your experience, what are the risks associated with this
Mhm.
overuse of buzzwords and complex theories?
So the why it happens and the risks. But before
Yes.
we go, but before we dive into this, say, swamp, uh, one disclaimer: I absolutely do not hate corporation. There are lots of advantages of working for corporations, and as everywhere, there are those, say, corporations with good culture, and there are corporations with absolutely no abhorrent cultures. So I lots of my clients, and also from my own personal working experience, I used to work with, and I'm still working with lots of, say, quote unquote good corporations. So just to make things things clear. So it's not that I loathe all the corporations. So buzzwords. Oh, I would say that I have a personal theory regarding the source of buzzwords. Oftentimes, I think that people are lazy, and it's it's normal. uh, and they are looking for the holy grail. I mean, by holy grail, I mean some new magic tool, process, framework, whatever that will basically solve everything, solve all that, make all their projects come on time, make all their clients happy, make all the teams motivated. And they are focusing on looking for this holy grail instead of basically fixing the basics. And I will give you a perfect example. Uh, I know it's a problem all around the world and also in Poland, uh, paying invoices on time. And couple of times a year, I have, and actually now I have accumulation. That's why I'm talking about this. I have like 2 or 3 big invoices already overdue from big clients, and I reach every couple of days. Every couple of days, I reach out to them and say, "Hey, this is still not paid. The money is still not in our business account." "Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let us contact the accounting department." "Oh, we've contacted the accounting department. The remittance will leave our account for sure tomorrow." And of course, as you can imagine, tomorrow there is still no money. And I always think to myself, hey guys, if your processes when it comes to paying external invoices, they are like, if they suck like that, probably your other processes also suck. Probably there are some problems for, say, calculating vacation days for your employees, or processing salary increases, or doing all those important stuff that actually impacts your people. So instead of hiring external consultants and external company to tell you how to motivate your people and how to make them more engaged on projects, maybe you focus on fixing your very basic processes and stop demotivating your people. So, but this is not sexy, this is not difficult. You cannot do a colorful presentation out of this. You basically have to probably engage this into some dull boring and mundane activities of fixing all this stuff. So that's probably one of the reasons why those buzzwords are, fashionable. And the risks, of course, further demotivating people, because I will not give the company name, but when I was it happened for me when I was still working as a I think program manager. Uh, we had lots of, say, basic problems in the company, but then company decided to do some transformation, and they hired some external speaker. It was a guy from US. They actually imported a guy from US, probably paid him like hell of a lot of money. They rented couple of trams, like, public transport vehicles, trams, to actually to drive us to some hotel, like there was a big ballroom there, and there was this speaker from United States giving, power speech, and telling us about, the bright future ahead of us. And there was some, say, very surface level transformation. So there were like new colorful banners, new maybe job titles, but those basic things were still uh, basically broken. They were still demotivating us, annoying us, preventing us from delivering projects on time, from making from doing good job. And this, as a combination, actually made things worse, because if they did not hire this speaker, if they did not organize those events, if they did not hang those banners, we would be probably, say, slightly indifferent. We already got used to the situation. But this event, these banners, all this, say, buzz they generated, this demotivated us so badly. I mean, hey guys, we have basic problems here, and you are wasting your money and time on this stupid bullshit. Uh, uh, yeah, and there was also this painting, as we say, painting grass with green color, because after this transformation, there were actually some people from HQ visiting, and believe me, uh, They were replacing chairs in the meeting rooms when those people from HQ were supposed to sit. They were buying better seats and doing stuff like that. Uh, and I would say that the overall demotivation impact on the whole company and all the employees was huge. So the risks, voila, these are the risks.
Yeah, yeah. Instead of focusing on the basics and fundamentals and like
Yeah,
getting to the root of the problem,
right.
they prefer to just, polish the surface. Yeah.
Yeah. There is this very old technique, 5 whys, and I would probably employ it there, right? Ask cup, dig deeper, instead of just, hey, our employees are demotivated, let's motivate them. No, ask why are they behaving like that, what causes those behaviors. And more often than not, there are maybe one, two, or three root causes.
Yeah. And now I think we're moving in the direction of our
I was hoping to some more optimistic, segue, but
yeah, I
not in
mean,
this, not in this podcast.
yeah. Well, talking about basics and fundamentals is always fun. And,
Right.
in our Polish culture, I think we are, once we, spill all this, what is not working, we actually come to solutionizing and looking for solutions. So I think that's the right path right now. I mean, I don't want to talk about stereotypes right now, but there is something like in our culture that, makes us closer by saying, all the bad things about everything around. And then we start like, okay, so how can we solve it? Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Possibly.
possibly. Um, so let's move to the topic of what are the most common reasons for projects delays and failures? And I think you mentioned, a little bit about that.
Lack of basics.
Lack of basics.
Probably because this is probably a topic for, like, we could do like a season, 12 episodes, 12 episode season out of this. So maybe I'll try to be brief and limit myself. But one of the one of the most important ones is, I would say, lack of clearly set goals for projects. I mean, this might sound obvious, but what I frequently see is there is some general idea, there is maybe some goal, and maybe there are some KPIs, uh, but what people are missing, they are not spending enough time on talking, especially with key stakeholders, and make sure they all have the same understanding what those KPIs mean, what this goal means. And basically, if you do so, more often than not, you'll learn that people understand it differently. And just to give you like a stupid tiny example, my company started to do meetups some time ago. You know about it. You visited one of these meetups, and before we did each and every one of them, especially the first one. I thought, okay, yeah, what you are preaching and what you are teaching is that at the beginning of every project you should prepare jointly with your team something called the project brief, and you will in writing and together answer the most fundamental questions about the project, the purpose, some constraints, things like that. But then I thought, come on, it's like a meetup. It's like everybody knows what management meetup is all about. What's the point? But then I thought, okay, you are preaching this, um, so you have to be, say, honest and sincere towards your audience. If you are preaching this, you should be doing this. Practice what you preach. We've done this exercise with my team, and of course, what happened during this meeting, we learned that each and every member of my team understood the purpose of this meetup differently. Like one understood that we need to say close couple of clients there. Like we need to find some clients and immediately close it. One other understood that we are looking for new trainers, potential trainers, because we're going to be inviting experts. And this, my understanding was that it's an experiment. Let's just try. My initial idea was just let's try and test our brand awareness. So how many people will sign up without spending money on Facebook ads and whatever? And people were really surprised when they learned my approach, and it took us like 2 hours to basically smooth the differences and form one joint goal out of this. And even for such a like really small and cheap project, but this happens for really huge projects, especially when what something that I mentioned, those transformations. If you asked like people on different management levels and employees, everybody understands the purpose of those transformations differently. Some tool implementations, the company is implementing a new tool, everybody understands differently the purpose of this tool. And yeah, and of course uh, people are starting to realize that there are those differences, but they are starting to realize halfway through the project, when it's already pretty expensive to reconcile all those differences, right? It's much cheaper to do it before you start. So I would say that lack of clearly set goals, and this is probably related to cognitive biases, so those thinking traps in our minds. People are not talking about those goals because they seem so obvious, and my advice is always like, if you don't want to invite people, just do it by yourself. Just write everything down, so all the basic information about the project. And more often than not, if this is in your head, everything seems clear and makes perfect sense. But when you are trying to write to form it in like this idea in like 5 bullet points or something, then you start to realize that the bullet point number 1 is in complete conflict with bullet point number 3, and the bullet point number 5 makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, and you touched a very important thing, like lack of top-down communication, as we call it, like, in a corporate. Yeah, because very often the founder or the CEO knows the goals, he knows what he means, but he forgets to like communicate it to the employees. And there's like,
Right. And this is related to this your initial question about the buzzwords. Uh, Maybe, possibly, and yeah, I made a disclaimer that corporation is not inherently bad, and also CEOs are not morons. The C-level people are not morons. They probably have a very clear goals, very clear idea, but there is this cognitive bias called the curse of knowledge. So when you are working on some topic for a long time, you are discussing it all the time, reading about it, rephrasing it, writing it in your internal memos. After some time, all the aspects of this topic become so obvious to you that it's really hard to put yourself into the shoes of somebody, say, external to your team. So possibly, say, you are a CEO of a, say, mid-sized company, say 5,000 employees, maybe not mid-sized, like 1,000 employees, let's say. And it's really hard, and you are working on some new product line or new transformation idea, and you've been working and discussing it in your, say, executive board for half a year, and then after this half a year, you absolutely have no idea how people at the end, in the trenches, in the assembly line, or in the office, in some in a branch in some different city, you have no idea how they will understand it, and more often than not, they understand it completely the other way than your initial intent was.
okay, so now let's move to the strategies that you
Yeah,
found
yeah. I
most
mean,
effective.
you,
Yeah.
I I will interrupt because I named only one cause. The strategies maybe or you want a cause and strategy.
Well, we can do it this way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that will be like more, interesting because
Mhm,
we
mhm.
mentioned the lack of clear
Right,
goals.
right.
So right now, how to solve it?
We already mentioned like top-down communication, but I would say, and I've already kind of mentioned this, the very basic and the very the simplest best practice here is to do something that we call project brief. Project brief is actually the same as project charter, but something called project charter. So like one-pager document that you are supposed to prepare at the beginning of the project. This good practice has been present in a body of knowledge for project management, like PMBOK, for instance, forever. But the problem with project charters is that I see is, I would say, in most big companies that I visit, when you ask people about project charter, they will provide you with some template. This template was probably designed in 1990s in some old Excel file, and there are some fields there. Nobody knows what half of those fields mean. Some of those fields are related purely to some, accounting plan of the company, like cost centers, things like that. And there is hardly anything about the real gist, the real nature of the project. So, and I'm not laughing at this. I sometimes understand that the accounting is also necessary, but I try to differentiate this, say, old school project charter from some simple one-pager document that we call project brief. And then, so it could be even not maybe PowerPoint. It could be even presentation, not necessarily PowerPoint, where you will jointly with your team ask yourself questions like, hey, why are we doing this project? What is the goal? The goal of the project cannot be implementing Jira, for instance, or some other system. Why are we implementing this Jira? What is it supposed to bring us? What kind of benefits, right? What's the current situation? What do we want to achieve with this project within, say, 1 year or 2 years or something like that? How much more or less what will be the expenditures, even if you don't have like budget assigned to you, like say you have $100,000, your budget, quote unquote, are people, are human resources that you're gonna use. So what are the benefits that you are expecting to reap, and what are the costs? Does it actually make sense? And more often than not, again, you will realize while doing this project brief that those benefits are not that certain. But in order to maybe reap those not that certain benefits, you will have to probably sacrifice, half a year of 10 people, and this is not worth it. What are key risks? How are we actually going to approach this project? And of course, and this is related directly to, say, the second biggest problem with delivering project: do we actually have time to do it? Because uh, uh, the other cause is that the companies are doing too many projects at a time. And uh, I would say that this is the top cause. It's even more frequent than the previous one. If I was to bet, maybe not my life, I wouldn't like to bet my life, but if I was to bet like £10,000 or $10,000, just, blindly, whenever I'm entering a new client and company, then I wouldn't probably bet that they don't have this good project brief, project charter system. Maybe they have. It sometimes happens, but for sure they have too many projects. It's like disease. Because it's really easy to why? Because it's really easy to start something new. Hey, we have a new cool idea, right? Let's start. Let's have a first meeting. Let's have a brainstorm. Let's write notes from this brainstorm. It's really easy to start. But then, of course, once you reach, like, say, 25% of completion of this project, things start to get difficult. So what people do, instead of maybe either trying to figure out how to fix those problems, or even better, admitting that, hey, this is more difficult than we anticipated, let's cancel this project. They don't do anything like that. They just say slightly deprioritize this project, and open another one, a yet new cool one project. In one startup I worked for as a program manager, it was already pretty big organization for a startup. There were approximately 100 people there, uh, and I was supposed to take over as program manager there, and we did some uh, phew, stock taking, right? So some we try to identify all the projects, make a list of them, prioritize them, and it took us approximately 1 week, and we've identified 400 projects, 400 initiatives in 100 people organization. This is of course extreme example, but if you're going to ask a random project leader how many projects are they leading, it's frequently they will tell you 5, 6, 7 initiatives.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, like, what's kind of the root cause of these too many projects? Because I understand, like, people have ideas, but as you mentioned before, if we have clear goals, the cost analysis, the cost and benefits analysis, the clear why, it technically should not let any new initiative without
Yeah,
checking before
but what
to
we've just
to enter.
mentioned, people are not doing this at the beginning. Exactly. So lack of good project brief, so lack of good discussion at the beginning of the project leads to this. I call it King Julian syndrome. There was this Madagascar cartoon, and there was this character King Julian, and there was this one quote like, "Now quickly before we realize it doesn't make any sense." Yeah, so and that's the way people are doing this. So this is related also to lack of good established project management office, so some entity within the company that will kind of enforce people to do those projects brief, and but also not enforce plus give them support, like knowledge support, how what's the real purpose, that it's not some stupid bureaucracy, that actually the good project management office shouldn't care that much if it's in Microsoft Word, in Confluence, even on a piece of paper, as long as it's written in a written form, and as long as they say the most crucial questions are answered there. And the other thing that should probably be enforced by this project management office is some really basic project portfolio management. So I am a big fan of so-called Kanban boards, where you can see the tasks of on a project in like the simplest Kanban board is basically one column for to do. So sorry, to do, then doing or in progress, and then done. And this is great tool for managing tasks on your team, on your project. But there should be also something like that, but for the whole portfolio of projects of your company. So the single post-it note on your Kanban board is not task, but the whole project, and you maybe 5 or 6 columns for say different phases, different stages of project. And if you're gonna have something like that, you're gonna be able to visually inspect and actually see how many projects are in progress, and start to manage them. And maybe it will help you to start realizing that, hey, we have like maybe 40 people in this department, and there are already 60 initiatives open. So maybe the 61st and 62nd initiative is not such a great idea. And if it is such a great idea, we have to do something. We have to maybe take 5 of those projects that are in progress and put them on hold, or maybe put 3 on hold and cancel 2, even better. But companies are not doing this. You
We
probably
are
gonna
not
ask,
doing this.
yeah, we are not doing this. And the I would say the zero BS answer to that is why. Because despite the fact that they are not doing this, things still kind of work. They the, the projects are delivered, maybe slightly delayed, maybe slightly below the expectations when it comes to quality, but it kind of works thanks to probably dedication of teams, of project managers, uh, I would say that the typical character traits of project managers are that those people are really like focused, dedicated, and they sometimes want to deliver no matter what. So even if the environment is not supportive, they feel this internal responsibility to deliver, and yeah, so things work out. So the company is not really motivated. So they are still earning money. Things kind of work, so they are not motivated to actually do some really big change, invest money, spend time on like building PMO and start uh, to fix and maybe reduce chaos. And one other thing that's not tempting for the company to fix it, because if they started to do this, uh, you would probably have to have some register of, say, uh, project analysis when it comes to, say, how many projects were canceled, how many goals were not met, were not delivered. uh, and this will be probably assigned that say maybe John Doe from department A has started like 5 projects with these some KPIs, and all of these projects were not delivered. If there is no single entity that gathers all this information in a transparent way, it's much easier to know to keep those skeletons in the closet, that basically say department XYZ is constantly investing money into some stupid shit and doesn't deliver any benefits for the company. But as long as the company, especially this is the case for huge companies, I would say like 10,000 people plus, they already have established markets, lots of clients, probably huge margins. Even if half of the departments are leaking a lot of money, they are still making it
Yeah, yeah.
as a whole.
Mm, yeah.
I see
Oh,
by your face, you probably didn't expect such honest discussion.
yeah, yeah. I didn't. I didn't. I think. Yeah, you're very honest. You're zero BS. I would say, because I don't want to use bad words. Hmm. Okay, so we mentioned goals, lack of goals. We
Right.
mentioned too many projects. You also mentioned about some strategies to take care of too many projects. So basically, like,
Yeah,
cut.
project portfolio building. And if I can interrupt you for a second, uh, maybe like a glimpse of hope. It's not that difficult to start the project portfolio management. You need probably a single person, because it won't work if you're gonna ask your top project manager to do it like part-time. What's gonna happen? Your top project manager will probably gonna be utilized, and those endangered projects in trouble, and they will have no time for this PMO initiative. So you need a single person to start this, and they should start with just a simple Kanban board that will where you will be able to see, and it's going to be up to date, where you're going to be able to see all the initiatives, there. Oh, and this is not directly related to strictly project management, but as you probably know, you know perfectly. You don't probably know, you know it perfectly, that nowadays we have this also it's very prominent thing, product thinking. So not only project management but also product management. And I just I had a revelation now. I thought about one company that we were trying to work with. Such board where you're going to see all the initiatives will maybe also reveal problems with responsibility, because with this one company, what we saw when we built such board, we realized that the main cause of delays for the delivery of all the new product lines, for all of them, was not that there was not a single there was no single person responsible for a given product, from say conceptual phase, from say initiation phase, till until they're actually implementing it, starting to produce it on the assembly line. Basically, it was like this hot potato syndrome. There was like a design department, and they were designing it, and they were, well, once they figure out that, okay, maybe it's pretty designed, they were just basically throwing this hot potato into the, say, architecture department. They were drawing the architecture, then they were throwing this hot potato into this other department. So basically nobody cared about, say, that the whole product makes sense, that it's gonna bring some benefits. Basically each and every department only cared about throwing this hot potato to the next department. And of course, this caused lots of problems with quality. So basically, the department C was throwing the hot potato back to the department A, citing that there is some stupid shit in the specification, and fix it. And department A was not that motivated to actually do a good job. They only wanted to, apply some small patches, fix couple of sentences in the general specification, and basically give back the hot potato.
And I think you just mentioned the next project failures in the project,
Right.
like reasons for project failures, which is like lack of ownership and clear
Right, lack of
roles and
ownership. Perfectly.
responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lack of ownership. Yeah. Sorry. Better word for that is lack of ownership. So, a single person should be an owner of the idea, and it should be in their interest to actually either deliver this idea and reap the benefits of delivering this idea, or realizing halfway through that it's much more costly and probably benefits are not that certain. So let's maybe stop wasting our time and money on that, and let's cancel it. This is also a pretty good thing to do, to cancel all the projects. And I mentioned product issue with product delivery, but this is the same with project delivery. In theory, there's supposed to be some sponsor. So the person who's supposed to be, say, interested in giving the idea and into delivering projects, and the sponsor in theory should deliver should delegate the delivery of the project to the project leader. But more often than not, what I see is there is some sponsor, but it's this person pretty high in the organizational structure, and they just have this really high level idea, and they just give it to the project leader, and the project leader basically, they have to worry about the idea. They actually have no concrete, say, maybe they don't even have business experience in the given area that this C-level person has, that this sponsor has. They don't know the context. They are not provided this information. They sometimes don't even know that they should ask about this, and they are basically left alone. And maybe the sponsor will ask them something in 1 year time, after it's probably already too late, and lots of effort was wasted. So probably the second step after you design this Kanban board with project is actually write there not only project name and not only project leader, but also sponsor, and start making sure that there is some person from so-called business or sales or whatever that's actually interested, that's actually engaged into the process of delivering it. And this is very much related to the question that you started this podcast with. So all these buzzwords, because what I'm talking about, this is having a interested product owner, right? And interested product owner is the very same thing as interested and engaged project sponsor. So project sponsor was in PMBOK, Project Management Body of Knowledge, in the 80s. And then we had Scrum Guide with product owner, like early 2000. This is still the same and very basic idea, that you need to have some people from business that are actually engaged and interested. And every 20 years, people are having like revelation, oh, we need to have something like that. And they give it a new name, but the thing deep down below is still the same, that the project leader cannot be the only person who's left. Usually they are like in their 20s, unexperienced, and they are left alone, and they have just please deliver me this set of really high level goals that you have actually no idea what they mean.
Okay, so we mentioned already like three core reasons and three
Right.
solutions. Or, well, plenty of solutions, not only
Yeah.
three. Are there any other, reasons for project
I
failures?
would like to mention one. Sometimes you just have to accept that things get delayed, and that it's sometimes normal, and that it's sometimes better to let some projects get slightly, or even sometimes even more than slightly, delayed. But if they are delayed, but they still deliver pretty quality results, they are not demotivating the teams, because if you're gonna have like constant crunch, so you're gonna require people to do overtime because you have to meet deadlines, it's gonna also demotivate them. This is a huge problem in a game development industry, right? This is pretty famous. The companies announcing that they're going to release a game, that they are going to some trade fair. They are those trade fairs for game development companies, and they announce that, oh, we're gonna launch December 1st, and then they then they realize that, oh my god, there are so many bugs, and they have this crunch, and people are working 12 hours a day. What happens is probably is usually after this launch, half of the team quits because they are burned down and everything. So accept that sometimes things get delayed. And I'd like to mention especially one thing, that there are different types of organization. And want to say one basic division I would give, and I spoke about this at Agile Swarming. You've seen my presentation. Is that there are those more project focused organization and more operations focused organizations. So project focused organizations tend to be smaller, and they are making their money from doing projects to the external clients, right? They could be writing software, building buildings, whatever. But I would say the majority of companies on the market are operational organizations. So and those organizations earn money by doing, say, repetitive process-based operational stuff, like manufacturing, like banks that are basically like serving their clients, retail, e-commerce, selling selling stuff. And the nature of doing projects in project organization and in operational organization is completely different. In project organization, the situation of project manager is pretty comfortable. They will frequently have just one single project on their head, dedicated project teams, say 100% dedicated people to them. I used to work for such organization. It was very comfortable situation for the project manager, and the situation of such project managers. This is reflected in all those project management standards, like the PMBOK, project management body of knowledge I mentioned. Yeah, there are those processes like acquire project team, develop your project team, whatever. But in operational organizations, the situation is different. You are a project leader, but you also have a set of your operational responsibilities. So you have to, meet your operational KPIs, but at the same time, try to lead some small initiative, maybe some process improvement, maybe some small implementation, whatever, some small process transition from one center to another. And you are probably doing this project. Your team consists of not people who are 100% dedicated to your team, but of people who also have, say, 95% of their tasks are operational duties, and they have to squeeze in your project task in between your operational duties. So I would say that in such environment, this is inevitable to have delays, because the operational tasks are the most important ones. If you're going to screw your operational tasks, you're going to alienate the clients. You're going to say you won't meet your SLA, service level agreements. You absolutely have to focus on those operational tasks. And in such organization, unless, of course, the project is really strategic ones. If such organization has a strategic project, they will probably have a separate dedicated team to that. But those regular everyday projects, they are made on, say, best effort. uh, with this best effort in the back of the head, this theme uh, that we're gonna do what's possible, and that things can get delayed, and this is normal. And if you are such project leader, such project manager, if you are listening to my words, don't worry. This is normal. That it doesn't mean that you suck, that your team sucks, because I frequently see those people who are like half depressed because they read all those, this bragging that's on LinkedIn or on, say, management conferences, all those success stories. But those are frequently success stories from, I'm not saying that people are lying, but those are frequently success stories from those strategic big projects with dedicated projects team. When okay, it's more difficult probably because it's strategic project, but on the other hand, it's easier because it's much easier to work with dedicated team than basically begging Anne or Mark or Sue or Sulin to maybe sit down with you for 2 hours online and work on your projects while they have lots of other tasks on their plates.
Yeah, for
So
that you
acceptance,
probably
acceptance.
acceptance. That's not the word that I, expected from you, but thank you for that, Igor. I should know actually after your presentation on agile swarming that there might be like this, this a little bit philosophical and kind of more approach.
That is the way it is. This is the spirit of our times. I frequently try to picture in myself in my mind how the project management looked like. I mean, the way the office looked like in the 90s. Imagine, close your eyes and imagine the office in the 90s. Depending on the department, people didn't have computers there. Yeah, I mean, they did not have computers. Imagine, I mean, this is mind-boggling for people. And then even like maybe even the year 2000, many offices didn't have internet, or they maybe had some internal networks and only a few people had internet. And what happens now, we have all the smartphones, all those magic tools, uh, and it's of course great. I don't want to get back to the Middle Ages, I don't want to get back to Dark Ages, but one of, say, the disadvantages of this situation is that it's much easier to bother people and to flood them with your ideas, with your requests. My grandfather used to be a manager, technical manager in an automotive company in the 80s in Poland. And when he described me his job, he told me like, "Hey, we had one telephone on our floor, and we've been partnering with Steyr, Austrian company. And whenever we wanted to talk with them, we had to order an international call 3 days in advance in order to be able to talk to our partners. And if I wanted to talk to my friend Mark, who's been working on a different floor, I actually had to stand up from my desk and walk up the stairs 2 floors and see if he's in the office. Uh, and probably because of that, it was, say, much people were, say, much more considerate whenever they were starting new initiative. They were creating a new meeting, or preparing a new some requesting some piece of information, whatever. Nowadays it's so much easier, so we have too many tasks, too many threads, too many projects, and yeah, it's much more difficult to navigate.
Yeah, but there was one more thing that comes to my mind. You actually needed to have a relationship with Mark to, do
Yeah.
business with
Oh
him.
yeah.
Yeah. If Mark didn't like you or didn't like see you as an expert, as a good colleague, he would
Mhm.
say like, "No, I'm sorry, I can't do this." Yeah.
Do you think it's changed? I think the relationships are still important.
Yeah, they are, but I think we forget it
Yeah.
very often. Yeah, companies tend to forget sometimes what actually what's business about, yeah, and who
Right.
is doing the operations for them. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's my
it's probably a topic for a different podcast, right?
yeah, it is, but we're moving to the
Right.
leadership topic. Um, because very often, yeah, as you mentioned, like we need business sponsor, we need a business, we need product owner, but we need a leader, yeah,
Right.
to, you know, to make the project successful. So
Hmm.
what changes maybe or strategies for leadership,
Hmm.
or for leaders do you suggest to successfully deliver project outcomes or results?
So, what should you change in your project? It's in your leadership strategy. Uh, of course, it depends on the person. Everybody's different, but I'll try to give a very specific idea. Many years ago, somebody showed me a pretty simple leadership model, and I wouldn't consider it. I mean, I wouldn't try to sell it to you as like it's the best leadership model. Whatever, it's not. But there is one beautiful thing about this model that it depicts the need for some kind of a balance between different areas of your say of your leadership focus. So the areas there are that you have this forceful leadership and engaging leadership and operational leadership and strategic leadership. So forceful and engaging, like the two opposites. So forceful leadership, for example, is like, hey Beata, sorry, you can't take days off next week. We have go live and you knew about it for 1 year. So sorry, I'm sorry that you have that you have found this beautiful last minute offer. You can't take it. Or hey guys, we don't have time, and do task A, Mark do that task B, Maria do task C. So forceful leadership. But the other opposite is engaging leadership, right? So hey but how are you, what's up, what are the some development paths you'd like to take, what do you like about the recent path? Oh but I trust you fully, I will not control you, I will not check on you, I trust that you're going to do the best job. And the best approach is to find some middle ground between those two extremes. So for people who are, say, maybe skewed towards more engaging leadership, my advice to them is maybe you are overdoing this. Maybe sometimes it's better to try to check up on your team more frequently, to learn this forceful leadership. Because if you are all about trust, if you're all about somebody doesn't deliver already for the third time, there is some delay, and the only thing they hear from you is okay, it's perfectly fine, maybe you need something from me because I'm a servant leader, then I'm sorry, you're probably overdoing this servant leadership thing. The servant leadership is a great idea, but you can, as every great idea, like vitamin C, it's a great vitamin, but you can overdo it, like everything. Of course, the same with forceful leadership. Maybe you are pushing your people too much. This frequently leads to micromanagement because you believe that you are this, this omnipotent person, you know everything. Therefore you are, checking everything. You have to realize that probably your people will never learn. If you do it like that, this becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy. Because what happens if you are micromanaging? Uh, it eats up a lot of your time. I mean, you have to write down with detail every task. You have to check this task, and inevitably you get burned out. And then the cycle looks like that. Then you listen to some podcast or go to the conference and hear the presentation about, oh, you have to delegate. You have to learn to delegate. So then you get back to work and people are used to your style of micromanaging everything. And then on Monday morning next week, you start to delegate everything. People are not used to it. And of course, this ends up with disaster. People they are not used to working without your guidance. So of course, they screw everything up, and it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. Because at the end of the day, you say, okay, this delegation doesn't work with these people. Those people suck. And of course, the answer here is to do it gradually, right? Maybe start to delegate, say, less important tasks, simpler tasks, or you probably will figure out the way, but gradually try to find this balance between being like forgiving and engaging and relationship based, but also forceful. And this other spectrum, this is operational leadership and strategic leadership. And project managers are more often than not operational focused. So we have to deliver all the tasks. We have to have those timesheets. We have to fill in all the timesheets on time, deliver status presentations, answer all the emails, answer all the chat, and it's very important. But when they overdo it, they forget about those, say, maybe less specific, less concrete strategic tasks. So they for example, they are running from one meeting to another, and then they don't have time to just stay 10 minutes after the steering committee meeting and just chat, randomly chat, do some small talk with stakeholders, build relationship, or they do one-on-one meetings with their teams because they are ordered to do such meetings by HR. Uh, but their calendar is basically so full that when there is a situation like there is 2 minutes to 4, 2 last minutes of the one-on-one meeting, and the employee finally starts to opening up and is just about to tell you something important, they look on their watch and they say, "Hey, sorry, I'm late to the other meeting. We're gonna talk next time, right? No problem, no problem." Uh, so. Uh, uh, so it was also very important for me to understand that uh, answering all the emails, uh, or I will say the other way around, that it's normal that sometimes your task board will not be fully up to date, that sometimes your status presentation will not be perfect, that sometimes all your that at certain point it's impossible to answer all the emails because you're going to end up as email answering machine. I mean, if you are getting 150 emails a day, you can't answer all of them meaningfully. I mean, it's absolutely impossible, and it's not the goal. The goal is to put things forward, and this also requires strategic thinking, like and strategic tasks, like thinking, hey, what is the motivation level on my team? Hey, if person A takes sick leave or basically quits, what's going to happen? Do we have some knowledge transfer? Do we have some documentation? Things like that. So basically, this operation focus, even if it seems, say, intuitive, uh, if you are focused too much on that, this leads to many troubles ahead because you are not thinking ahead uh, about things like I mentioned: motivation, knowledge transfer, building relationships, and also updating your CV resume in case something happens. I mean, I mentioned that, but this is also the case. uh, People are so focused on doing one thing that they forget about, say, personal development, also building their LinkedIn profiles, things like that. And they may be doing great job, but after, say, 5 years, the crisis hits and they are laid off. And they basically realize that they haven't done any training for the last 5 years, and their resume is non-existent, and it of course creates a lot of stress, and it takes them basically 3 months before they are actually ready to start looking for some new jobs. So this is another example of lack of strategic thinking. So in order to be a good leader, try to look for this balance and accept that, say, none of the extremes is great. So if you are fully forceful, you suck. If you are only forgiving and engaging, you also probably suck as a leader. If you are all about emails and answering them, you also suck as a leader. And if you are only about vision, then you probably also suck as a leader. And if you're only about vision and you are not interested in what's happening on your team, there is this quote that Vision without implementation is hallucination. Yeah, so we have vision, yeah, but there is no connection to the to say operational stuff. It's hallucination of the vision.
Yeah, yeah. It is. But what you just like emphasized is basically that the leader has to be more in a direction of generalist rather than a specialist in certain area. Yeah, because you need to know a little bit about this, a little bit about that, and like try to.
Even if you are in a very technical area, yes, I mean you have to understand that it's more about being effective leader than basically checking after your people if they have basically dotted all the i's and crossed all the t's. It's much more, and this is hugely related to building relationships and things like that. But building relationships, for instance, one of the biggest problem in huge organizations is the silo mentality. And we could do also another like season of podcasts about silo mentality. But one of the say very simple remedies for silo mentality is actually building relationship from with people from other silos in your company. So legal department, compliance department, things like that. Things like this requires time and this requires effort.
Yeah, but it also like depends on your kind of personality and like talents. Yeah, you need to invest a lot of time,
Right.
yeah, into people and building relationships, but and you never know if it pays off. It's like an investment that you're, yeah, basically do not know what it will come up from that. But let's move to the next question about the biggest lessons you've learned about managing projects effectively. What have been those?
For me, you probably could have figured it out because I'm this. I used to be this very forceful and very operations focused person, and I had to find. I had to start moving towards finding this balance. So I had to start to employ this more strategic thinking and say trust, and also and more enabling leadership, so trusting people, building relationship with them. And yeah, this was a difficult, long and difficult process, but I believe it paid off. Uh, when I was in my 20s, I was very micromanagey project manager, and I didn't even understand the reason, the need to build relationship, and that they're important. And the older I get, the more experience I get, the more I understand that say people are different, and this is beautiful. People have different personalities, attitudes, approaches, and this could really benefit your project. And if somebody thinks differently, if somebody has a different perspective, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are stupid. Uh, yeah, but that was my belief. So I had to basically grow up. So if you are asking about say my journey, that was my journey. And if somebody is listening to me for whom this is obvious, then uh, yeah, then maybe for you, our dear listener, uh, maybe you have to take the journey the other way around towards more planned approach. Because this is the funny thing, but if you ask me to do like a really rough division between types of project leaders that I meet during my training and consulting gigs, that I could divide them into two groups. The one group is uh, I'm doing projects because I'm building great relationships. And the other group is I'm doing projects because I'm great in planning, scheduling, things like that. So, and the first group, the relationship based group, lacks, say, motivation and sometimes skills to do some really basic planning, which would really help them. The other group, this planned group, lacks, on the other hand, this relationship building skills. And what I frequently see, they are not interested into gaining this knowledge. So the planned people come to the training expecting that I will teach them yet another planning technique. And the relationship people, they come to the training and they are so interested in those personality types differences discussion, establishing relationship with stakeholder discussion, things that they are probably already pretty good at. So my advice to them is look into your, say, weak uh, areas, and I'm not telling that you should completely like focus on them, because I'm in total support of this theory that you should build on your strengths. But for a project leader, uh, you cannot, you cannot suck. You can be average. You can be say intermediate at relationship building, at planning, and whatever. But you cannot suck in those areas. You can be great at relationship building, but if your plans are non-existent, you're gonna regret this. Your projects will start failing. And if you are absolutely amazing at planning, but you absolutely suck and neglect relationship building, this is gonna bite back. This is gonna bite back on you.
Hmm. So there needs to be like kind of this
Yeah, you
oh,
don't have to be
balance
perfect in
again.
anything. Yeah, balance again, exactly.
Yeah. Um so yeah, so mm, yeah, because I wanted to summarize it and I wanted to say that the biggest lesson is actually finding the balance.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, finding the balance,
I would
which
say
is also
learn where are your, say, extreme behaviors, and try to mitigate them slightly, and yeah, find when you're where you are lacking, and try to fix it. Oh, and you don't have to be and of course you don't have, as I mentioned, you don't have to be perfect in all the areas. uh, if you are if you suck, as I, as I use this, sorry, I use this at relationship building, just try to be slightly more open, and maybe find somebody from your team who's great relationship builder. If you're if you absolutely hate preparing plans, then maybe start to be slightly more open towards this idea of making some plans, because people who hate planning completely, they just do this free fall project management. Oh, let's see how it's going to end up. uh, Maybe find somebody from your team who's going to help you to do it. I'm a planned person, but I would say that I don't have that much patience, and I really valued whenever whenever I had like a business analyst on my team, uh, who was supporting me into, say, uh, writing, say, maybe elaborating more on those points on our plan, because I was good at preparing like maybe 15 milestone plan, but I was not that anxious to actually elaborate on each of those 15 points. And then it was really good and really helpful to find somebody on my team who was willing to help.
yeah, yeah, like trying to use others' support, yeah, or asking for
Yeah,
help is also like very important. But I want to come back, like I'm wrapping up slowly,
right.
so I wanted to like ask you the last question connected to project management and about the skills. Which specific project management skills were crucial in establishing zero BS management?
Ooh, in establishing the company. Mm,
Yeah.
and the project management skills, I what I would tell you is I already had the project management skills. I had to learn completely new skills, like sales, things like that. So actually, starting the company. Once I started the company, I finally maybe understood the perspective of people from business or people from sales, that it's also difficult, that it's also important. So things that I never cared about when I didn't have to care about when I was just a project manager. But if you are asking me about, say, skills that I already had, uh, prioritization. If you are starting a company from scratch, your resources are really limited. They are much more limited than when you are basically the corporation gives you 12 people on your team. I mean, with 12 people, you can do everything, really. you could probably build a house. uh,
Yeah, you
but
could.
but if you have limited resources and limited money when you are starting the company, then prioritization is absolutely crucial. You have to focus on like three things at a time, and even if you have some great ideas along the way, you have to make this conscious effort to write them down and tell to yourself this mantra that, hey, I'm gonna come back to this once I finish those three important ones that I'm working on right now. And this, fortunately, I already knew from my previous project management experience. And yeah, this really helped me. I knew that I cannot deliver 15. That there cannot be 15 priorities. You can have maybe three priorities, but there cannot be 15 priorities.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I even have, because you mentioned the Kanban, and I'm also like using
Yeah,
the Kanban for, planning
yeah,
everything, to going to yoga, visiting mom, and to recording the podcast with Igor. So
yeah.
yeah, everything is there. But yeah, I incorporated new column, priorities for the month and priorities for the week.
Right.
Yeah, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be honest.
So maybe a different card color. So not a column with priorities, because it's like, it sounds weird, this design, but I would use like maybe red card with like, say, and you can have maximum two most important things per week, and you have to, and this is like a red color or red dot if it's a physical board. And yeah, and then you have to train yourself to be disciplined enough uh, to do those things first. And what could be probably helpful is putting less on your plate every day. I learned one of the things that really helped me, also both when it comes to productivity, but also when it comes to, say, my mental well-being, is when I started to make conscious effort not to put more than 4 or 5 tasks on my plate per day. Because the normal thing was I had like 7, 8, 9, 10, because oh my god, I want to achieve so much. And of course, what happened, I completed like 4 or 5, some new were added, and at the end of the day I was like exhausted, frustrated, and I had the feeling that I did not complete anything. And also, I usually worked on, say, the easiest, less intimidating, and those most important ones I kept postponing to the next and next day. But if you just put 3 tasks on your plate, say, or 4, and 1 or 2 are those priority ones, it's much easier to do those priority ones then.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was the trick, and that's actually the thing that I still have to get back to every now and then, periodically, because it's like with living healthy lifestyle. You live healthy lifestyle, but before you know it, there is some difficult period, and then you grab a burger at McDonald's or beer or two, and before you know it, your healthy lifestyle goes away. And this is also the case for me with prioritization, with my to-do list, with Kanban boards. Every now and then I have to do like spring cleaning, just sit and delete half of the task, and or maybe put them on onto some other board, and explain to myself that, Igor, let's face it, it's impossible to do all of what you have there within, say, half a year. So maybe just choose 30% that you're going to actually do, instead of juggling all those 100 tasks and without any benefit. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be only juggling those tasks, do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that, and there's going to be no results.
yeah. Kind of. I mean,
Easier, easier said than done.
yeah, easier said than done. But yeah, to be honest, I also like started to um, accept that I'm not going to do everything, and like
Right.
limit the
Yeah.
work in progress and limit the tasks to do.
Yeah.
Um, and like honestly, like wrapping up, if you could give one piece of advice to our listeners, what would it be? That's the most
I think
prioritization.
I've already given prioritization and balance. You can't. Yeah, I would say that the three main themes of say my trainings and workshops are looking for balance, prioritization, and along with this mantra, like you can't do everything. I mean, your team and you probably have a lot of great ideas for products, for improvements, for what you can do on your team, but you will probably be able only to do only 10% after, and this is normal. It doesn't mean that you suck, and it's much better that you're going to accept this truth sooner than later and just focus on this 10%. What helped me was my 30th birthday 12 years ago, because it was like a very huge date. Oh my god, I'm turning 30. And then I realized that, hey, all those dreams about, say, traveling the world and about going here, there, doing this, that, I have to start doing this, because you know I will probably be able to do it for the next maybe 20 to 30 years, depending on my health, and that's it. This is the window. So I cannot just do this bucket list and add constantly stuff there. I have to start choosing the most important things and actually start doing them. And after realizing this, I signed up for the scuba diving class, and I actually started to do scuba diving because that was on my bucket list for 10 years, and of course always postponing for the and this was something important for me, but one of the important things that was always postponed for maybe next year. There are so many current things to do, to attend, and this is also the same thing on a project. You have those things like your team's motivation, knowledge sharing, things like that, and you keep postponing them until you realize that you were basically caught with your pants down, because you kept postponing it, and bam, half of your team left, and you have no knowledge transfer, things like that. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand. Thank you for that advice, especially around, bucket lists and 30s,
Yeah.
because last year I actually turned 30. So, well, this podcast is my, dream coming true. Yeah. So,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. And what's on the horizon for zero BS management and yourself, Igor?
Oh, what's on the horizon? The this is also a tale about priorities, because last year, so 2023, our company has done a pretty cool research project. The one I was actually talking about at Agile Swarming Conference. So, what gives leaders the most headache? We actually surveyed more than 600 leaders from different companies, asking them what problems do they face when trying to deliver projects. And we were supposed to publish a report based on this research project December 2023. But then I had say lots of trouble in my personal life. Of course I would not go into details, but I had to accept uh, hence the acceptance part, that either I will accept what happened and I will postpone the delivery of the projects, or of this project, of this report, or I will go absolutely crazy if I try to manage all this personal stuff, and maybe working, burning the midnight candle, and working till 4 a.m. trying to deliver this report because I promised. So yeah, the next thing I had, I think I already sorted out most of this stuff. So this summer is probably working on the report and publishing it both in Polish and in English.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah,
Really,
there's
because
a
that
lot,
was really
a
interesting.
lot of cool quotes are there. I mean, the quotes in open that people wrote in open text. This is both the most, say, amusing but also most depressing part. What people are telling about their organization, and basically how the organization are preventing them from working efficiently.
Yeah, yeah, that's both funny and sad, as you
Yeah,
said. I remember your
bittersweet.
presentation, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good summary actually. And where can our listeners find more information about you and get in
LinkedIn,
touch with Link?
definitely LinkedIn. You're gonna probably link it under the episode.
Yes,
Igor Mróz, that is IGOR MROZ. Pretty easy to find. For those of you English listeners, Mróz, my surname actually means frost, so it's not so intimidating. So yeah, LinkedIn definitely. Reach
okay, okay.
out, connect, ask questions, or complain if you think that I or some of the things I said is bullshit. I'm also always open to new perspectives.
Yeah, and accept it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Igor, for our conversation. It was honest. It was no fluff in this conversation, and
Hopefully.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was
Thank
both
you.
depressing and beautiful.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Doing It My Way by Beata Matras. If you enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe. Remember, this podcast is a dynamic journey and your feedback is very welcomed. Connect with me on social media. I would like to hear your thoughts, questions, and topic suggestions. And stay tuned for upcoming episodes. And until next time, keep doing it your way.